Well, guys, honestly speaking, I don't know what's going on with the sky lately. Because in Texas, people saw an eerie orb-like light and were left speechless. Then there was this. An entire coastline looking like somebody had poured fresh blood into the ocean. It looked like something straight out of Hollywood. And these? You wouldn't believe me. They aren't coming from some anonymous UFO account. They're in files released by the United States government. Yes, you heard that right. And somehow, those aren't even the only bizarre things people have filmed lately. From strange objects flying overhead, to glowing rings appearing in the night, to something exploding above Canada so brightly that cameras hundreds of kilometers apart picked it up, 2026 has been weird. Really weird. And before we start blaming aliens for every unusual occurrence, some of these things do have explanations. But others? Well, you can decide for yourself. Let's start with something that had a lot of people looking up. On the evening of January 18th, videos started popping up from across Texas. And at first glance, this thing looks seriously weird. There's a bright object moving through the darkness. But look around it. There's this enormous hazy glow surrounding it. And in some recordings, smaller points of light seem to form this strange ring-like trail behind it. Now, if this had been one shaky video from one person, it'd be pretty easy to overlook. Except it wasn't. People reported seeing the same display around San Angelo, Copper's Cove, Hondo, Waco, Dallas, and San Antonio. And obviously, the internet did what the internet does best. UFO, aliens, someone even compared it to the USS Enterprise. Which, okay, I can kind of see it, but this one's especially interesting because there was something else in the sky that evening. About an hour and a half earlier, a SpaceX Falcon 9 had lifted off from Cape Canaveral, carrying 29 Starlink satellites into low Earth orbit. And local reports quickly connected the strange display to that mission. Texas probably didn't accidentally open an interdimensional portal, probably. But here's what I love about footage like this. Imagine you know absolutely nothing about the rocket launch. You're driving home, you look up, and that is floating above you. Are you telling me you wouldn't pull your phone out? Because I definitely would. And January wasn't done giving people reasons to do exactly that. Because our next clip didn't come from the sky. It came from the ocean. And somehow, it looked even worse. Okay, if the last one was weird, this next footage looks genuinely apocalyptic. Yeah, that's real. This is Hormuz Island, off the coast of Iran in the Strait of Hormuz. And after heavy rainfall in December 2025, water began rushing across the island's famous red beach and into the Persian Gulf, turning the shoreline deep crimson. If you saw this with zero context, you'd probably have some serious questions. Preferably after checking whether the Four Horsemen were nearby. But unlike the previous case, we actually know what's happening here. Hormuz is famous for unusually colorful geology, and the soil around Red Beach contains high concentrations of iron oxide. When heavy rain hits the normally arid landscape, that mineral-rich red soil gets washed downhill and into the water. The result is something completely natural, that looks anything but natural. And that's worth remembering with these videos. Sometimes our brains see something unfamiliar and immediately jump to the craziest possible explanation. But nature doesn't exactly care whether something looks believable on camera. And entering 2026 with footage like this already circulating online certainly didn't help the feeling that things were getting strange. Because while a blood-red coastline can be explained by geology, the next footage was released by people whose entire job is identifying what's flying through the sky. And apparently, they couldn't. The 1st of January 2026, somewhere over North America, 2 circular lights are moving through a pitch-black sky. And normally, that's where we'd ask, who filmed this? Some influencer on TikTok? Or maybe Snapchat? Or some guy named Dave standing outside a gas station? Well, not this time. The footage appeared in an official US government release of material connected to unidentified anomalous phenomena, or UAP. On May 8th, the Pentagon began publishing a large collection of records through a system called Pursuit. The first release alone included more than 20 video files, with recordings from places including North America, Syria, Japan, and elsewhere. Associated Press reported that the newest video in that initial batch was recorded on the 1st of January 2026. And appears to show 2 circular lights moving against a dark background somewhere in North America. Here's where we need to be careful though. Unresolved doesn't mean alien. The government's own Pursuit website makes that clear. It says the archive cases are unresolved because officials haven't been able to make a definitive determination about what was observed, sometimes simply because there isn't enough data. That's a big difference. But it's also what makes footage like this interesting, because nobody needs to pretend the Pentagon confirmed extraterrestrials. They didn't. The actual story is strange enough. It's 2026 footage released by the US government that remains unidentified in the public record, and I'd say that's worth looking at twice. Maybe 3 times. And if you thought that was where things calmed down, nope. Then something tore across Canada and exploded several times in midair. And months later, another brilliant object appeared above India. And then people started waking up to beaches covered in thousands upon thousands of these things. And trust me, they look even stranger up close. So yeah, we're definitely not done yet. Okay, this one's beautiful and slightly terrifying. Just after midnight on the 29th of April, 2026, cameras across Vancouver Island captured an incredibly bright object racing through the atmosphere. It streaked across the sky and brightened, and then appeared to fragment multiple times. The event lasted around 5 to 6 seconds, according to video timestamps and eyewitness reports. By the following day, the American Meteor Society had received nearly 150 reports, with sightings coming from locations hundreds of kilometers apart. This one, though, wasn't an unidentified craft. It was a fireball meteor, and that's actually what makes the footage so good. You're watching a chunk of material from space enter into Earth's atmosphere at enormous speed and tear itself apart above the Pacific Northwest. Sometimes the explanation is just as insane as the mystery. Then, on the night of July 16, residents across several districts of Punjab, India, saw another brilliant streak tear through the darkness. Reports came from places including Amritsar, Tarn Taran, and Pathankot, and videos started spreading online almost immediately. Maybe it was another meteor. And that's probably where most people would put their money. But when the Times of India reported on the incident, officials had not yet publicly confirmed whether the object was a meteor, space debris, or another astronomical event. So unlike Vancouver, where the evidence gave us a pretty solid answer, this one initially remained a question mark. And for our final moment, okay, what exactly would you do if you went for a walk on the beach and found this? There were hundreds of thousands of them. They're bright blue, almost transparent, and sticking out of each one is this strange little structure that looks like a miniature glass sail. I mean, come on. If somebody told you these were props from an alien movie, you'd probably believe them. But you'd want to know, what are they? And maybe more importantly, why are there so many? Turns out, these things actually have a great name. They're called Velela velela. Most people know them as by-the-wind sailors, and that name is surprisingly literal. They can't exactly steer themselves wherever they want. Instead, the wind pushes them across the ocean, which is all very peaceful until the wind starts blowing toward land. Then thousands, or sometimes enormous numbers, can get pushed onto the same stretch of coastline, and suddenly your relaxing morning walk looks like somebody emptied a bucket of extraterrestrial aquarium creatures across the beach. And maybe that's the perfect place to end this. Because if there's one thing all of these clips have in common, it's that the first thing we see usually isn't the whole story. And here's the thing, not everything strange in the sky needs to stay mysterious forever. The red water in Iran? Geology. That creepy ring over Texas? Very likely connected to a rocket launch. The exploding object over Canada? A fireball meteor. UFO footage? Officially released. Still unresolved. And maybe that's the part people get wrong about UFO stories. You don't need every light to be an alien spacecraft. You just need one question that nobody can answer yet. And judging by what cameras have already captured this year, 2026 isn't exactly running out of questions. So no, this probably isn't the end of the world, but maybe keep your camera charged anyway, because apparently something's gonna happen again